Cyril Robert, you are head of research at Savills France. Thank you for joining us on BITV.
Hello, and thank you for receiving me.
Savills has recently published its latest tech cities study. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, how have the tech cities evolved?
By now, it's mainly people and companies that have changed. Cities are big boats with slower movement. I think the first thing that have evolved since the beginning of this crisis, what 1 year ago now, is the way in which the work is organized. With the explosion of teleworking or work from home. And that's mostly, this phenomenon is stronger in tech cities than in other regular cities because of well-equipped and well-trained companies and employees. So that's probably the main phenomenon with the health crisis. We don't have to forget that during, for instance, the first lockdown in Paris, and that's the same thing in other big cities in the world, a lot of people, a significant part of inhabitants have migrated elsewhere. For instance, for Paris region, it was between 8 and 10% of the total population. So that changed quite a lot the way we are working. The second thing I think is the rebound capacity of these tech companies, which is probably stronger than we were expected before the crisis. If you have a look, for instance, on fundraising dedicated to tech companies, it's remaining on high level, and mostly in France. That's interesting for us.
The study identifies Paris as a tech megacity. How does the French capital compare to its global counterparts?
If you have a look on the rental market in Paris region, it's heavily impacted by the current crisis. I don't know how you're saying, and probably much more than in some other tech cities. For instance, if you have a look on the take-up in Paris region, for the first 3 quarters of the current year, we have a decrease of 46%. In London, it's only 22%. There's probably two reasons for that. The first one is that the rental market was already weaker in London last year than in Paris. And the second reason is probably that the Parisian economy is more diversified than in London, and tech companies occupies a less important part in the economy. So as it's this kind of companies which are on a better health after 9 months of health crisis than some other kind of companies, probably that's one explanation for the decrease of the letting market. But I want to point something very important, I think, for Paris. It's the level of fundraising dedicated to tech companies. This year, France will be one of the only countries in the world in growth in terms of fundraising. We will probably reach 5.5 billion euros for the whole year. Last year, it was only 5 billion euros. And so that's an increase, and that's quite a good performance in the current environment. And for Paris, it's very important because Paris is playing a key role in the tech economy. For instance, last year, we don't have the figure for the current year, but for last year, Paris region was accounting for 70% of the total French fundraising. So as it is increasing on a global scale, it will be increasing in Paris. The other point important for tech economy, I think, is if you have a look on these financial round tables, there's a bit less in terms of number, but they are on, how can I say, higher unit amounts. So that means that the tech companies, and that was one of the weakest points of the French economy in comparison to Great Britain and Germany, the seed fundraising were strong, but the growth equity was less important than in United Kingdom and in Germany. That means that it was quite easy to develop or to start a new company, but it was difficult to make it growing. And that's not the case now. For instance, last year we had only 4 fundraising of over 100 million euros for the whole year, and this year in 11 months we already have 11. So that's a very strong increase, and that means that the French tech companies are growing, and most of them are in Paris. So that's quite important to keep this in mind for the future of the letting market.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Cyril Robert, for this
Thank you.
insight. And thank you all for joining us. See you soon on BITV.